would ask the town clerk please read the warning.
The electors and citizens qualified to vote at town meetings in the town of Plainfield are hereby warned to meet at Plainfield Town Hall, 8 Community Avenue, Plainfield, Connecticut, on Thursday, January 30th, 2025, at 7 p.m. for the following purpose. Item 1. Shall the town approve a request from the Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance for the appropriation from the fund balance of 20% up to $100,000 to be used as a financial match for any state or federal grant program for renovations to Lions Park, and if approved, to be sent to a town referendum. Dated at Plainfield, Connecticut, this 14th day of January 2025, Kevin M. Cunningham, First Selectman, Arthur W. Gagney, Selectman, Peggy Borey, Selectman.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to open the floor for nominating the moderator.
Nominate
Kevin Cunningham.
Second.
Any other nominations for moderator? Hearing none, a motion to close nominations.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor of closing nominations, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. So thank you for coming out tonight. I want to make sure that everybody that is here that has the ability to vote has the slip. We do have a presentation, if that's okay. We have Brian Bray, would you mind starting off?
Good evening, everyone. As you all know, you're here to discuss and vote on a grant application. So this is up to $500,000 as a 20% match. So if we were to get the full 500, we would have to kick in $100,000 for a total of $600,000 to go toward the project. If the state does not give us the full $500,000, say they give us $250,000, we would be responsible for 50% of that, $50,000. I'm sorry, 20% of that is $50,000. So this is the central plan that we came up with. The main portion of the plan is to redo the parking around the town hall. And if we have enough money, which we should, we can try to get a bandstand over here and do some lighting around the track for nighttime events. And in the winter months when people are out there, we have the lights on for earlier in the evening until we set on timer. The main reason for this is because the conditions of the pavement around the town hall, being the parking lot and Reservoir Street, which is on the south side of the building, is very deteriorated. This is not going to last a whole lot longer. We probably get a few more years out of it, but this is the area going into the rear parking off of Reservoir Street. So that's what we know. Another portion of the parking lot. As you see, there's a lot of cracks in the asphalt. It's not going to hold up much longer. So we did come up with some figures of what it would take to repave what we currently have. And that is doing Reservoir Street parking alongside the park. We're doing the back parking over here, and also milling and repaving the north side, which is over here against the barns. And just for doing what we currently have, we came up with a figure of about $181,022. That's a bill that is coming due fairly soon. That is not this plan. This plan adds more parking along the town hall, which is just to the west of the door over here. It also adds around, well, probably 40 spaces down here, 5 spaces right here behind the town hall, and also spaces along what's currently Reservoir Street. The idea is to take a discontinued Reservoir Street and turn it into all town hall parking. And then we can utilize Reservoir Street back here as a fence line for more parking and have a center row of parking over here. It would flow much better. It's just a central design where it would add about 50 spaces. Currently we're at 97. We would be going up to around 152, about 50% being parking. Everybody that comes here for a large meeting or event knows that we have limited parking spaces, and adding about 50% would really help. And then the second portion, as I mentioned, would be the bandstand. The cost of that would be about $270,564 is what we came up with to redo all the parking. So we'd be going from $181,000 to redo what we currently have to about $270,000 to get the extra bandstand, this is just kind of a concept of what we would like the building to look like. Obviously, this is a garage, but this is sort of what we'd like to design the bandstand after. A nice country type building that fits in the area. The premise behind it is that right now we have concerts in the park underneath the existing pavilion, which is right here, and people come sit out here. But putting out the bandstand would allow for more room for people to bring blankets and chairs, and also if we could have maybe a larger event on the weekend, maybe 2 or 3 bands, and invite the businesses in the area to come set up tables and display their items and sell food and whatnot. It's really a community event. Try to get people in from outside of town, bring them to our town. So also, like I mentioned before, add some more lighting around the track. Right now, we only have lights at the basketball court and the fitness court. It really helped out in this year's lighting ceremony, and having some more lights around the track would be more better. Any other questions?
Ryan,
Yes.
how many people travel on that road out there?
On what, Reservoir?
Yeah.
I don't have a count. We could get that from the state, I know, or maybe Mario would know. I know there have been count boxes back there. It's not heavily traveled, but it is the main route coming through for the park. If we were to repave Reservoir Street, it would only go to about the Villa Maria property. That's where we would stop it for this project.
And you have to go through traffic authority to shut that road down?
We would have to go through the traffic commission.
How much of the electricity bill be from sundown to sunset in the summer or even all year for the lights that go around that we're planning?
We haven't figured that out yet. They would all be LED, so relatively low.
How much is the maintenance on all of this per year?
Maintenance on-
Outside of the typical maintenance for like grass mowing and things like that. So like the stage and the bathroom, the bandstand and everything like that. How much does that estimate to be?
Well, there shouldn't really be any maintenance to the bandstand except for when we have to replace the roof, but we're thinking of going with a steel roof, which is for 50-plus years. 30 years down the road, you might have to reside it. But there really shouldn't be any maintenance to it regularly as long as kids don't vandalize it.
How easy is it going to be for the seniors and handicapped to reach the bandstand to watch performances versus where it's at now?
We do have a plan to do pathways coming in off the track.
A long walk.
It's a long walk, but we're going to have pathways to get there. So the bandstand is going to be designed to project out, so you can hang back if they want. They don't want to get right up close.
When you have those concerts in the park, how many people actually attend the concert in the park? How much of a growth do you anticipate having?
I really don't know. It's a good question for the rec department.
So it could be 10 or it could be 1,000.
I never took a count. There's a lot of people sitting out there in the area where the old basketball court was.
Even with our current concerts in the park we have now, we've had up to 200 people. It depends on the band. Every band is a little different. We've had up to 200.
How often are those?
6 times a year. We have them in summertime.
In the December, I think 28, 27 meeting, Kevin had stated that he wasn't going to raise the rental fee that much for the park, given all of these, kind of to dissuade some issues that we had with like the affordability of renting the park. Is that still the case, that we're not going to raise the amount that we rented out for? As it didn't seem like that in the New London Day article.
Right. We anticipate a small increase at this time, and we'll have to play that by ear as every year comes forward to see how much use it has and how many people want to rent it out.
Obviously, there's only one picture of the bandstand
But is the other side open, like fully open, or that?
It would be, so that was just a picture of a garage, to give you kind of what we
Yeah,
want it to look like.
That's what I'm thinking. It's
So
like
the
for a garage band?
bandstand, well, the bandstand would be open in the front. So it'd have sides, it'd have a rear, but the front would all be open as a stage. So I don't know if anybody's seen Putnam's. We kind of model it after Putnam's with more of a rural look to it, more of a country look to it.
I guess this is more just a general question, kind of like insurance and liability. But by opening up a space to let more people come in, are you going to, what is it? If anyone gets hurt, decides to go across the street in a Royal, are you going to take responsibility of that?
Our liability insurance already covers that, so we don't anticipate
Both
any,
sides is secure?
we don't anticipate any increase in the insurance costs.
Because I can walk right over there and there's holes in the fences.
I know we are addressing those issues.
It hasn't been addressed since I brought it up last November.
Okay. We are looking at those to be fixed.
The assumption here is that we get all 500,000. What priorities for these various projects have been set if we do not?
Good question. The first priority is the parking around the town hall. The Planning and Zoning Commission does have to approve this plan, and they've already said that we're going to add any amenities to the park, such as the bandstand or a future splash pad. We do have to increase the parking first. So anything that could bring more traffic in, as far as amenities go, the Planning and Zoning Commission wants the parking increased.
A double question. One, with the increase in traffic as well as the lights there, are we going to increase the police department's funding for an additional person or at least a partial person to be able to police the area, as well as with the splash pad? I believe you answered this before, but I just want to double check that with a splash pad, we don't have to have any increase in insurance or costs per year, because I believe that insurance, like any type of water fixture, would be increasing the insurance.
I can answer that very easily. For those people who have a copy of this in the back of the room, there's 3 items on here. We do not include a splash pad.
No, okay, you just mentioned, so I just want to double check.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
That would be a hypothetical for down the road, but it's not.
So is the police, the increase in police funding available?
We have to talk to the chief about that. We have a budget coming up, so
But I also believe that you would know because you manage the budget for the police department, and you
it would be up to the police chief to have scheduled routes over there, but you can ask. It's right there.
Yes, absolutely. Mario, would this need an increase?
Depending on the size of the turnout for the event, we would mandate it not be there.
Yep, okay. So it might be overtime, so.
That is, it would be overtime.
It would be overtime. Okay, thank you.
And that brings up an important point. I hate to say this, but we do have a lot of homeless people living throughout town. And what prevents anybody from going and setting up their own little inside of a bandstand?
So we have thought of that, not just, well, mostly to keep the kids out so that they don't live in there and spray paint. But we are going to try to design some sort of enclosure, like garage door style, just to close it off.
And that's an excellent question, because the idea of actually adding more cameras to the system, the area, is very helpful. We've already used that camera system to find people doing something wrong and catching them and prosecuting. So
There is one thing I forgot to mention, on the light poles and probably on the bandstand, we would have cameras. We do have a few out in the park right now, but not too many, so we'll be able to cover pretty much the entire park with this product.
So my question is, when these become non-compliant anymore, when they're not OSHA or whatever compliant, what's to say we have funding 10 years from now when this area is not okay, we need to redo it? What's to say we're going to have funding for that then?
I don't anticipate that to happen. Once a structure is up, I assume you're talking about building code rather than OSHA. And once the structure is up, it's grandfathered into the building code, so it doesn't have to be upgraded unless it's substantially altered.
You mentioned mentioned earlier about the expansion of the parking area, but I don't recall, we may have said that I missed it. Did that also include lighting for the parking area?
We have not thought of any lighting for the parking area. I think it is decent. I want to read a book out there, but it's pretty good as far as walking out to the car. Well, it's something we can definitely look at. That's a concern for residents.
Are we increasing the amount of technical capability that we have, or tech support that we have in order to maintain the security with these cameras and things like that? Because I know, as of right now, we only have support on, say, Tuesdays and Thursdays, and that might not be accurate, but something like that for all tech support. So I'm just wondering if the cameras go down on a Friday, are we going to be able to get them back up and running regularly?
We outsource the cameras.
We outsource the cameras. Okay.
Because this is very funded, because of the new administration, and everything, all the pullbacks on it. What happens if we don't get any grants?
So far, if you want to answer that.
Steep is 100% state funded, so there will be no pullbacks with federal funding. We currently have 2 projects that are state funded now. We reached out to their administration. They don't see any issues with any executive orders coming to fruition. Coming ahead.
I think what you're getting at, though, is what happens if you approve funding for this and then we lose the grant.
Right.
Well, there's no guarantee we're going to get the grant, but we don't spend any money unless we get the grant. And we only kick in money for the money that we spend out of the grant, 20%.
And once the state has allocated money to you and there's a contract in place, the likelihood they take that away from you is very low, because it's a legally binding contract that they've said they're going to give you this money.
So that's the question I have. So if you remove the money from point A to point B, and let's just say the grant doesn't happen or whatever, does that money come back to the fund balance?
So the money will only, what this is for is I will be applying, if it gets approved, the application is due February 20th. I will say the town is willing to do a 20% match of $20,000. If we don't get the grant, that money doesn't change. It doesn't go anywhere, it's not getting spent, it'll just stay in the general fund. If we get approved, then that's when the money starts getting moved for our matches. With invoices that come in, the steep is reimbursement based. So as we start expensing, we'll put some towards the match and then get reimbursed through the grant.
The way I understand the question is the money needs to go from the fund balance into some other account. I'm asking if this doesn't happen, does it go back from here to the fund balance?
Yes, the money will not move until we get the contract from the state of if we got the grant or not. Because we don't know how much is going to be there. So if we don't get the grant, that money will not move.
So will I move in advance, is what I hear you say?
Yes.
How much revenue do we believe is going to come in, and will it cover the cost of the maintenance, the monthly maintenance of this? So electric bill, anything else that needs to be done, other than what is already being done to the park?
Once the project is finished, there really isn't any maintenance. Like I said, most of it is going to be parking, which, aside from street sweeping, things of that nature, it's good for 15, 20 years without maintenance.
So is there additional like electricity and things that are being used? Like I'm just wondering, like just want to say, love this. Ideal world, perfect. But for the parking lot, there's cleaning, and then there's the bandstand there's cleaning and maintenance of the floor and things like that, and maintaining just in general. I just want to make sure that we have an accurate depiction of how much monthly additionally this will cost us than just the $100,000.
It would be maintained by town staff, and like the gazebo that's currently out there, unless kids damage it, we're not doing anything to it.
How much money is already allocated from our fund balance to other state grants that we have previously voted on? So we have money that hasn't been spent because the grants are in various stages. But as a town, we've already allocated a fairly large sum of money to come out of our fund balance. So what is that value?
and that's already been fully expensed back in 2022.
And is that regarding the Cape County project?
No, that is not a steep project. That one is Connecticut Recreational Trails. Our only steep projects are Alliance Park and then the Plainfield.
What is our match to Cape County? And didn't we already vote on that?
I do not know this.
You got the match on it.
There may not be a match on that because we're still in the early stages, so we've only we only have $62,000 for that. That match will come down the line if we have all the designs done.
Aren't there other things besides that, like the Bell Road Bridge? You might find out fund balance for that, too, if there were materializes. Well, we voted on that, right?
Brian, you can answer that if you want it.
We do have state funding for it, which we will match to it. I don't know, I wasn't involved in that. What about the state airline trails or what, bike paths, whatever it is, it starts to do something they want to continue?
That's already been completed, and we don't have any money going into that.
That was all state project, as well as the one that's potentially coming for the northern section, heading up through Edward. Is there any money coming out of the fund balance for the sewer plant upgrades? For the tank upgrades?
Those, we already allocated monies from ARPA monies for that, 3.4 million. And we've already voted for a bond for that as well, so no more money's coming out.
So, just questioning the amount, I wasn't here earlier, the amount of vandalism that's happened at Lions Park. Could this money be better allocated to the start of a resource officer at the school system level?
It's kind of outside of my
That's
purview.
Mr. Cunningham.
We're talking about that in a budget that's separate from this.
But could it be better allocated towards that, is what I'm asking?
Those monies wouldn't go one for the other, it's just a matter of there's a budget, and that budget has to be approved and passed, and it has
But
nothing,
part of the money to the town goes to a resource officer starting at the school level. I know you mansplained me last week, but you're not going to do it again this week. So could this money be better allocated at the school level?
You're talking about a hypothetical, and I can't answer that. It has two different issues here. We have an issue with an opportunity for a grant and versus what's going into a budget.
But it's still
It's,
for our
again, it's
town.
hypothetical. I can't answer that.
But it's still for our town.
So isn't it a hypothetical that you're going to get the grant money if you allocate $100,000?
It starts here. If this meeting approves it, then it goes to a referendum.
No one answered my question.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Carla Desjardins, and I speak at the microphone frequently. And you may remember me from the May budget hearing because I got up to the microphone and I talked about wants and needs. And in my view, our budget right now, given hard times for everybody, needs to really focus on necessities. Public education, public safety, public roads. Parks are great. It's a want, it's a luxury. I don't think it's a luxury we can afford. She brought up the budget, and it is important to talk about the budget at these meetings because this meeting represents an overspending. We are here today because this $100,000 was not in the budget, which means we as a town have to come together to approve it. So it's representing overspending. So every dollar we vote for from the fund balance is money that was not budgeted. And since we are less than 3 months away from a new budget season, I'm here this evening because I am no to any extra spending until we can figure out a budget that the people can afford. So for this project, wants are great. I think the park would be great. But I do question the amount of money we're putting in such a small park when we have other parks in Moosup and Warregan that could accommodate bigger functions. But there's this fixation on the park here. So I question the strategic planning of how we use our money. So I want to see us use our tax dollars in a way that supports the community, but in a way that is not overspending all the time. We shouldn't have to keep coming back for town meetings and town referendums. Every extra town referendum we have spends another $2,000 to $3,000. Some of you may have been here in December. We had a town meeting and a town referendum, and then here we are again in February, almost February, for a town meeting and a referendum, when we're going to be voting on a full budget in May. So I'm here this evening to vote no. I'm tired of overspending, and
A grant is great, but we got to put out money to get money, and I'm tired of throwing good money after bad. Thank you.
Anybody else?
To the honorable people of the town of Plainfield, I stand before you in strong opposition of the proposed appropriation of $100,000 for the development of Lions Park, based upon the assumption of a $500,000 grant that will follow. The reality is the grant is far from guaranteed. The federal government, as well as other governments, are actively discussing halting grant programs, meaning we could be committing to a project that could never receive outside funding. If that happens, our town will not just be out $100,000. It could be forced to cover a $600,000 cost, devastating our budget, which we do not need. Even if the grant was secured, the estimated costs are at best optimistic. We have seen time and time again municipal projects far exceed their original budgets, and when that happens, it is the taxpayers who are forced to pay the difference. The numbers do not reflect long-term obligations. Once the grant expires in 3 years, every dollar spent on maintenance, repairs, upkeep will fall entirely on the town. That means rising costs year after year with no external support. Winterization, infrastructure degradation, operational costs alone can range from $10,000 to $50,000 collectively. In our climate, it's not a question of repairs if they'll be needed, how much will be needed. As evidenced by other government projects, it is an absolute certainty. Meanwhile, in our town, we are nearly $1 million over budget across many projects. Schools are underfunded, roads are deteriorating, taxation remains a significant burden on the residents, with 53% of our population living in poverty. With these realities, it is simply irresponsible to allocate money towards an entertainment project that benefits only a small portion of the community. Residents have voiced their opposition to this development before, and yet one member of the board continues to push it forward, disregarding the people's will. Town funds are not a personal checkbook for pet projects. They belong to the taxpayers, and the taxpayers have spoken before. This is not about $100,000. It's about the very real possibility of losing $600,000 and committing to an ongoing financial burden that will drain resources when they are truly needed. This is the wrong project at the wrong time. I urge the people to reject this proposal and prioritize the real needs of the town.
Just to add a little point to that.
Use the mic a little soft spoken.
If we apply to this and we don't get it, we're not doing the project. So if they come back in and say you get no funding, we're not going to put $600,000 into the park. If we don't get it, we're not going to do the $100,000 towards the park. If we get it, we will then do the project.
I think he said that we have to do the parking lot because there's like ships and stuff. Is that something that?
That would be a capital improvement that we've done a 5-year plan that we'll probably have to get done.
And can you remind me, is the capital improvement, the committee that you had spoken about the last time I was here, is that formed yet?
That was just spoken of by the superintendent and I. We haven't done anything with it yet. We anticipate we're doing that, something like that formally in the next couple of weeks.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
I have something to say, and I know you're probably not going to answer my question, but instead of focusing on this, we need to take some of this money and we need to allocate it for a resource officer in these schools, even if it's one officer that goes among the schools, because right now we are a sitting target. We are sitting at targets. You don't know what's going to happen. People say it's not going to happen, but it could happen. You never know. We need a resource officer in these schools to protect our kids.
What else?
In regards to the parking, as it exists now, there's already, we're hard up for handicap parking. There's 3 or 4 spaces over here. If you're going to use this side of the building, the entrance to this side of the building, the handicap parking is down there. And according to this, when I saw this being presented the first time, I thought the handicap parking was going to be along the side of the field, but all I see is them using the back of this building. There's no easy access for a handicapped person to get anywhere near anything on the park.
We currently have, I believe, 5 or 6 handicap parking spaces out on the north side, near the ramp and near the doors coming down to the lower level. And I believe there are 4 by
I'm
the
sorry,
park.
excuse me, where are those?
Right outside the door here.
Yeah,
So we have 5 or 6 parking spaces. I haven't counted.
you're talking about over here?
Yes.
Okay, I understand that. So how do I get to the swimming pool without parking down there?
I believe there are 4 spaces, 2 around each of the gate entrances. So there's one basically right across from the gate, right across from the door against the gate. There's 2 spaces there, 2 spaces at the far end.
And we're going to add some to the, we want to put parking spaces over here.
We might add some handicap spaces as well.
And how does that work? Is there a sign number of handicap spots
Per 25 parking spaces, you need at least 1 spot. I think we already are over that currently. We are definitely over that, actually. For what we have now, we only need 4, but we have, I think about 9 right now. We might add some more. We do not have a real design yet. This is conceptual, so we'll be playing around with it if we get the grant funding.
If there's no other public comment, I would make a motion to start voting by paper ballot. If there's no other.
Second.
I have a comment. Question, actually. Maybe this was answered. I apologize if it was. I hear a lot of people talking about resource officers. Is this rate specifically for the park? Or is it just?
It is for the park.
Okay, so that's really kind of movement. Secondly is, I hear you saying that in a few years we have to upgrade anyways.
Repave, yes.
Right. Is it possible to just do the lighting and the parking and not the bandstand? I'm not saying I'm for or against it, it's just a question somebody had asked.
Yeah, that would be possible.
Because it seems like out of the 500,000, 600,000, what did you say, 200 and for the parking?
So
roughly?
to redo what we currently have for parking and redoing Mill Street, redoing Reservoir Street,
Yeah.
we're looking at around $180,000, and that will be necessary in the near future. To modify the parking, to add the extra spaces, we're looking at about $270,000.
Okay. So would it be possible to just do those 2 items?
I assume it would be possible.
It would be possible. They do put a lot of weight into recreational facilities, so it is a top priority for them.
I'm personally for it,
Yeah.
but I'm also about compromise, so if a lot of people are against it, and we do, I really feel like the parking lot is, that's like, no-brainer. You have the money, or possibly, and nobody will move until it's absolutely approved. And we're gonna have to do it in the future, within 5 years.
I'd say it is deteriorating pretty rapidly.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry for keeping you. I just have one quick question about the funding overall, right? So you said it's kind of like matched. How much are you looking to get? How much is all this going to cost?
So if approved, we would apply for the whole $500,000 the grant allows.
Is that going to cover like everything you want to do? Like maybe like guys budget out like
Based on
the lights
verbal
or-
quotes and some research we've done, it would cover what we're hoping. That's why we have the priority list of the costs of everything could go up. So we'll start with the parking lot, see what funds we have left, and we'll go to the bandstand.
So if they don't match what you want, are you still going to use the funding to like cover like, at least some things, or
No.
it's either you get the whole 500,000?
Well, they would lower the amount. So sometimes if they have a lot of applicants coming in,
Just for example, if they approve us for $250,000, we would have to kick in 50, we'd have 300. We would take care of the parking lot, and any money's left over, we use it for lighting or cameras or something, we wouldn't have enough money for the dance floor.
And to give you an example, for the King County project, they had originally applied for $500,000. The state came back and gave us $52,000 because they wanted us to focus in on something else. So that's going to be used towards the engineering of it rather than all of the construction, because we didn't get approved for it.
So you're not gonna look for more money if they don't approve you for the whole thing?
If there's other grant funding available to do it, we would.
I mean, it's going from the
No.
town.
We will not pull the
Okay.
Who do you go with for the grants?
Mostly
Who's
state.
the grant writer?
I'm the grant writer.
Are there any 100% grants?
Not a lot on the state level, no. Most of them require a match.
Oh, okay, or
Again, a lot of the state and federal have matches. The only grant that doesn't have a match would be the Community Investment Fund. So that would be, we are working on a recreation master plan that hopefully will let us do more stuff down the line with no match. But a no match grant is very rare, especially for higher amounts. Normally no matches are 10,000 or less that you're receiving back.
So based upon what you said, the priorities seem to be the paving is number one, the bandstand is number two, and the lighting is number three. That's correct?
Yep.
Correct.
But I understand you to say that they put a heavier weight on the recreational part of it, we can't just get a grant for the parking lot?
You can apply for a grant, but I don't know the likelihood we get it.
Okay,
They
so
have-
if the state comes back and gives us half, when we use it for the parking lot, is that going to put a grant, they're going to say we didn't give it to you for the parking lot, it was for the recreation?
As long as we wrote the parking lot into our scope of work, it doesn't matter how we use the funds.
Why couldn't you take you want to pave the parking lot, put that into the paving part of the road, you just part of the town?
You can't do that. This is a specific grant just for these items.
Yeah, but why can't we just incorporate the parking lot with the road, you take it out of the budget for the road and do the parking lot for that one?
If we use
You have the money to do it every year, you allow so much money for the road, why can't that be incorporated in there?
And that would be part of the budget, part of your capital.
Something to look at.
Oh, okay. Outside of this grant, we've been told that we need to sell town assets like the ECC and the cell phone tower because our fund balance is going to be impacted by requests from the Board of Education that were previously put into a capital improvement plan that was approved by our town. And so that we can't spend anything from the fund balance because these things are coming down the line and we need to sell town assets to pay for those, like this building. Why should we spend $100,000, or is this the best place to spend $100,000 when we could spend $100,000 here in this town? And also, you stated in your New London Today article, Kevin, a quote, so I don't know exactly if this is accurate or not, but I trust the New England Day, is that you have said our fund balance is the best it's been in years and that this is the healthiest it's been. So I'm confused about the two different pieces. Can you explain that?
Sure. We have approximately a little over $10 million in our fund balance for reserve. This $100,000 would take 1% of that. The other items that we have to be very careful about spending money out of the fund balance in larger chunks would be if we were to do other projects like going out for bonding for HVAC systems for the schools. You take those monies, you're going to make sure you have enough in there so your bond rating is good. So that's why we need to keep a certain level up there. Once we get the bonds out there for the different projects, it's up to the townspeople to vote yea or nay to any of these types of opportunities.
How much does it cost to fully meet the town employees' need for psychological safety against the mold that's in the basement downstairs? Is that less than $100,000?
I mean, I don't know how to answer that, Samantha, honestly.
You say that there's no mold in the basement. However, there are people who have stated that there is mold in the basement. They can see it with their own eyes. And I'm just wondering, even if there is no mold, and I completely agree that a company would not say that there is no mold if there isn't, how much would it cost to ease the fear
that, Samantha. I can just tell you that I have the reports from that company about the mold, and according to them, that is not an issue, but we're still working on fixing that issue now. So it's not really germane to this in relationship to...
They did have them written, so I think it all goes to the same place, but thank you.
Okay.
What's the status of the pavilion over by the high school, where the old annex was? And I also remember you guys saying that we had a partial grant currently for bathrooms out here. What's the status on that?
All right, so I can answer them briefly, but I think if we have other people help out. The bathrooms is the money that's currently left over from one of the grants that you see on the sheet that you have in the back. There's still monies available for that. We are going to utilize that money to do the bathrooms. You also mentioned something from the other one?
The pavilion you were planning over where the annex was?
So our new town engineer, Sean, he's working on actually putting a plan together. It's going to go in RFP, it's going to go out to bid. So that's next.
Shouldn't we be wrapping up some of these projects before we come back and try to get more? Take more money?
So let me just answer that quickly with what happened, how this came up to be so quickly. We received an email from the state saying there's a last round of the STEEP monies are available right now. We don't anticipate that the STEEP monies to be available later on with everything else going on in the country. So we don't know what's going to be happening, but we do know that there is a STEEP grant available now. So that's why we're trying to apply for it and continue on with the projects for it is little cost to the taxpayer as possible.
Kevin, you said you just found out about this. I think it's unwise and foolish to just throw $100,000 at the possibility of getting some more on a park that, let's be honest, it's not going to benefit anyone. With the current state of everyone's budget, the state's budget, the town's budget, this is just silly.
I would argue that there's economic development that actually spurs off other items that can come into that project, into that, we had music in the park. People come from outside of the town, they listen to the music, they may shop or do something, so I think it is it does lead to itself to bring the economic development.
I completely disagree with that comment.
Okay, yeah.
One more for you.
Okay.
Does the match have to come from town finances, or can we get an outside source to put up the match? We have Uline in town, we have Amazon possibly, supposedly, we've got Lowe's. Have we reached out to those people to see if we can use some of, would they be willing to kick in to help with this match? Is that possible?
We could use private funding as a match. The likelihood a company would give that amount of money is very low.
I just asked.
I worked with a nonprofit for years before this, and trying to get a $750 sponsorship out of these companies is extremely hard. If you can even find a contact to reach out to.
Well, I talked to a gentleman from Uline who said that his company would probably be willing to help invest in that fund in the future.
Yeah, which is great. And like Hartford Healthcare did
We have
help.
to reach out and ask.
We did reach out for Hartford Healthcare. The most they would give us, which is a fantastic amount, is $10,000, which is fantastic that they were willing to give us that money. They're not going to be willing to give us anything over that. And the only reason they didn't do that was because their logo is on the fitness court, very large for people driving by and see.
I'm thinking about Uline up there, who's basically disrupting our town big time. They would probably looking for good publicity at this point.
Yeah, which we could definitely do that, and then we have to put their name, logo somehow on shipping, so it'd be more expensive.
$100,000 for their logo on a building.
Yeah, which would be more expensive down the line too, if they're willing to give us $100,000, which I don't foresee them doing, but we could definitely reach out to them to see. Yeah, so that would be, there's not a lot of time from when this opened, when the application is due, to be able to reach out to all these companies to get
It's been on for about a month now, right?
It opened, January 9th, and we have till February 20th. And we have to have it all in writing that they'd be willing to give us this money.
I can put it in the form of question if we want, but I just want to say thank you to the town planner, to the grant writer, everyone who put this together, because I think 1,000% has had to come together quickly, as well as this is an amazing, whether this goes through or not, you all did an amazing job on putting this together and getting us all of the information that we need to do this. So I would put it in the form of a question if everyone would want, but I would just like to say, like, can everyone just give them a round of applause for putting all this
One more, I know we have a motion in a second, but if you, one more.
Is government a for-profit entity? And if it is, why do we have 10 million extra dollars and major projects, town funding for schools, roads that are dilapidated? Why can't we not do the park and do the important, needful things? And if we are not a nonprofit, it feels like we're being, a for-profit, feel like we're being overtaxed. And that's been stated to me before by other people.
If there's no other public comment, I would like to move the motion I made to vote by paper ballot.
Second.
Who was our second before? Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. Carla.
Yeah, by paper ballot.
Okay, thank you. I said here.
You didn't hear me, Kevin, come on.
Okay, good evening, everybody. I see that we have a quorum. Cindy Chester is absent. Yeah, she's just so did everybody had a chance to review the minutes from? Do I have a second to accept the minutes? All in favor? Opposed? So moved. All right, everybody, let's discuss the budget. I think Paul made a very good statement tonight regarding the fact that we all know that we want to save the pool if we can, but we're looking at a bigger problem. We talked about this today, and our feeling is that, I'm sorry, I feel like I'm ignoring you, that at this point, with no new numbers or no hard numbers from the state, that we just can motion to move it forward to referendum as it is, because there's nothing else we can really do right now. Any thoughts on that?
I agree with that. I would say yes. But I think we can save the pool.
I don't think we can even, well, yeah, I don't.
We keep using the $60,000 income number and $750,000 a year.
Well, that fluctuates. The
It
pool,
fluctuates, but
yeah.
it's just been higher.
I don't think
We
we're
can go
opposed to try.
75,
Yeah.
and then double the
fees.
Double the fees immediately, and that gives you $150,000.
Yes. Well, I don't think we're opposed to trying to put together a formula to save the pool. And I don't know if we need to get that nitty-gritty tonight to save the pool.
It would have to, because after this thing gets fixed,
the idea is, the question is the dry truth.
I know.
You know, the other things, the ceiling and all that stuff. But, I mean, there's still a very, somebody used 89,000. I don't know about 89,000. I don't think that's accurate, but that's not Kelly's number. What is the number?
Last year was maybe 86,000 they took in with revenue, audited. That's the audited numbers. So the numbers have fluctuated.
We got a lot of money last month.
Yeah, I never saw that in my general ledger, so unless that was just deposited recently.
But I think guys, the only thing I'm tossing out here, because I'm not doing what you call reverse here, but people want food, we're going to get that. But we got that piece of equipment. I'm not going to Lowe's to solicit money. I'm not doing that, okay, guys? If you want a pool, you go visit Lowe's in some of these places, because I know these places give money to Little Leagues and everybody else in this town. So I'm not doing that. But if the Board of Finance thinks that you want to pay for the drive in the project itself, now you got to figure out what you're going to do to support it. do you have enough people? Because I'm telling you right now, you don't have enough people. So you might be able to make an impact, keep it, make an impact. It won't be self-sustaining. It just won't be.
How close do you think we can
I
go?
think we're close. I don't know. Probably, I don't know. Kelly, I don't know what the number is.
50,000 maybe?
That's what I was gonna say, Nate, around 50,000. You have to double everything.
The way I figured it, you need another 89.
How many years do we have to replace the dryathon?
Okay, we have the results. And then,
For item 1, shall the town approve a request from the Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance for the appropriation from the fund balance of 20% up to $100,000 to be used as a financial match for any state or federal grant program for renovations to Lions Park, and if approved, be sent to town referendum. The vote was yes, 17, no, 61.
at this time, entertain a motion to adjourn. A second.
Now
adjourned.
All in favor?